We are continuing our discussion of magnetic fields and forces. And one of the things we talked about with electric fields, we actually spent a lot of time thinking about the work done by the field as charge is moved around to various locations within the electric field. We're going to take a look at the work done by our magnetic field as we move a charged particle from one point to another. If we're moving a positive charge from A to B, how much work does the magnetic field do in moving that charge from A to B? Well, let's think about the force. The force, in this case, the particle is moving from A to B. V cross B is out of the page. It's a positive charge, so the force is out of the page. But that's perpendicular to the direction the particle is moving. If the force has some component along the direction of the velocity, either in the same direction or opposite the direction, then it can change the magnitude of the velocity. It can change the speed of the object. If the force has a component perpendicular to the direction of the velocity, it cannot change the speed. That component cannot change the speed of the object, but it can change the direction of the velocity. So if this force always points perpendicular to the velocity vector, it cannot change the speed of the object. It can only change its direction. That means it can do no work. The work done by the magnetic field is always zero. The magnetic field cannot change the speed of our charged particle. It can only change its direction. Here I have a magnetic field pointing into my page. If I have a charged particle moving to the right, let's make it a positive charge, moving to the right with a speed v, what direction is the force on this particle? V is to the right. I roll my fingers into the page. The force is toward the top of the page. So our particle is not going to continue to move to the right. At some time later, the particle will be over here. And it will be moving in this direction. What direction is the force on the particle at that instant? To the left. So the force causes the particle to change direction again, and eventually it ends up over here, moving to the left. And what direction is the force? Toward the bottom of the page. And you can see what we're getting here, circular motion. Charged particles in magnetic fields tend to move in these circular paths. The charged particles have a really hard time crossing magnetic field lines because of this perpendicular force. In fact, that's what causes the northern and southern lights. The fact that charged particles have a hard time crossing magnetic fields. Charged particles from the sun come toward the Earth. And instead of crossing through those magnetic field lines, because charged particles, when they hit magnetic field lines, tend to want to circle them, if they have any component of their velocity along the magnetic field line, if they're coming in at just a slight angle, then they will come and they will spiral around those magnetic field lines until they hit the Earth's atmosphere. And when they hit the Earth's atmosphere, they cause the molecules in the Earth's atmosphere to be excited. And when they drop back down to their lower energy state, they give off light. And that's what the aurora is. The northern lights, the aurora borealis, and the southern lights, the same thing happens, the aurora australis. And those, when the charged particles have some component of their velocity in this direction, then they end up spiraling around in this direction towards the southern hemisphere, and they hit the Earth's atmosphere in the southern hemisphere. We'll get an area around the North Pole and an area around the South Pole where these lights are very prevalent, where the sky kind of lights up. Sometimes it's very spectacular and you get flowing patterns in the sky, and sometimes it's more subtle. It just almost looks like clouds are lit up a little bit, and then you realize, wait a minute, there are no clouds. It's a clear sky tonight. But if you haven't seen those, put it on your list of things to see. We've been talking about the fact that charged particles feel a force when they move through magnetic fields, if certain conditions apply, if the velocity has some component that's perpendicular to the magnetic field. Well, if a charged particle moving through a magnetic field can feel a force due to that motion in the magnetic field, then a whole bunch of charged particles moving through a magnetic field should feel a force also. And that's what a current carrying wire is, a bunch of charged particles moving in the same direction. So let's see what the force is on a current carrying wire that's sitting in a magnetic field. Your book goes through the derivation to get from the charged particle formula to the formula for current, but I'll just give you the solution here. The current times the length of wire crossed into the magnetic field, where the length of wire we treat as a vector. What's the direction? The direction the current is moving. Let's look at this example. We have a current carrying wire, carrying current to the right. We have a region of space here with a magnetic field. Let's make it out of the page. And this length we will call L. So what direction would the force be on our current carrying wire? The direction of the force would be toward the bottom of the page, because the current is moving to the right. The magnetic field points out of the page, so our cross product points towards the bottom of the page. And another way to think of it is, what is current? Current is a positive charge with a velocity moving in that direction. We know it really isn't. It's really a negative charge moving the other way. But as far as our equations are concerned, it doesn't matter. A positive charge moving to the right. So if we could still use this right-hand rule to give us the direction. A positive charge moving to the right gives us a force that points towards the bottom of the page. Or you could think of the current moving to the right, crossed into the magnetic field, gives you a force pointing towards the bottom of the page. And what do we get for this? We would get the force is equal to the current times L, the length of wire that's sitting in the magnetic field, times the magnetic field strength. And in this case, they're perpendicular to each other, so we get a 1 for the sine of 90 degrees. If I have a magnetic field that points toward the top of the page, and I'm trying to get from point A to point B along some path, I have a current carrying wire that follows some crazy path, maybe this path. Of course, the magnetic field extends, didn't draw my lines. There we go. My wire is in the magnetic field, a uniform magnetic field. This looks like it might be tricky to try to figure out what the magnetic force is on this wire. But it turns out that we can take the straight line path from A to B, and we can call that distance between A and B along that straight line path, we can call that L prime. And the force on this wire, the one that has this curved path going from A to B, is the same as the force on the red wire that goes on a straight line from A to B. And the reason for that, let's kind of zoom in on one little region here. If we zoom in a little bit, we see that the current direction, we can break up the velocity of the charges into components that are parallel to the line that connects A and B. I'm just going to pick a little subset of my big path. So we can break up the current into a part that is perpendicular to that line and a part that is parallel to that line. And we can do that all along this whole path. And what we get are all the segments that point away from the line that connects A and B have an equal and opposite part pointing toward the line that connects A and B, because we are going to end up back on that line. We're starting on the line that connects A and B, and we're going to end up back on that line. So if we move away from it, we have to move back toward that line. And the force on one of those is going to be opposite to the force on the other one. So all those cancel out. And the only thing that matters are the components that add up in the same direction. And what do you get when you add those up? You just get the straight line path from A to B. Let's take a look at a current carrying loop of wire. What do you think the magnetic force is on this loop of wire? It might be easier to see if we think of this wire loop as sort of two half loops. I'll separate it here. Half of the loop has current flowing in this direction, and half of the loop has current continuing in the counterclockwise direction, like that. Well, I can replace the left half, the blue half of this loop, with a straight line that connects the endpoints and a current that flows like that. Those, as far as the force is concerned, those are equivalent. And I can replace the green line with a straight line path between those 2 points. And as far as the forces are concerned, it's the same force on the straight line path between the endpoints or that long curved path between the endpoints. And now I think you can see that those two wires, one carrying a current up, the other carrying a current down, they're the same length, they're parallel to each other. Whatever force acts on one, the other one has to have an equal and opposite force acting on it. So for any current loop, our net force has to be 0. The net force has to be 0 on a closed current loop in a uniform magnetic field.